There is a way to be a Pokemon Master in Borderlands 3, and it involves a very, very strange interaction between Zane and one specific gun. Now, when I was thinking of making a build for Zane, I wanted to make a Pokemon Master Zane. It was going to star his Sentinel, his Digiclone, the Breakup Shield, and the 10-gallon gun. The idea was to be able to have a bunch of different things flying around you, shooting enemies all at once, and it was going to be really cool and really fun. Now, the Messy Breakup is a pretty unique shield. It gives you a little drone that flies around you and shoots enemy dealing electric damage. And when your shield breaks, you get a second little drone flying around you as well. But the cool thing about this shield is that it doesn't say anywhere that the temporary drone has a cooldown. So when I was looking for a class mod to use with this build, I saw that I had this Infiltrator mod. This mod makes it to where your weapon damage and your movement speed is increased, and the lower your shield, the greater the bonus. Along with that, whenever you activate one of your abilities, it breaks your shield. Zane has the ability to have two action skills at once, meaning he can sacrifice a grenade slot so he can have a second action skill. So as you can see, I have one little drone floating around me already. If I were to activate my Sentinel, I get a second version of that drone now flying around me. But if I were to activate my clone as well, I actually get a third one. I don't know if you saw it. Oh, well, there goes one of them. But you get a third one as well. So if you activate those in quick succession, you can have two out for a pretty decent amount of time along with your original one. So then I was looking for a throw weapon that could be used as well for this build, and I saw the 10-gallon. So when you reload, you get this little gun drone flying around you as well. And if you were to reload again, you don't destroy the original one, you just give it more ammo. Now that's important for something I'm going to get to a little bit later. So going through this, I decided that I was going to use the 10-gallon with the Breakup Shield. But doing this, I realized that the damage isn't that great with this 10-gallon, so I was wondering how it interacts with my skills. Zane has a lot of ways to increase his overall gun damage. Whether it's the combination between Violent Speed and Violent Momentum, or the Supersonic Man, or just increased gun damage from Synchronicity, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I am sorry, and also Donnybrook. So the way that I thought this interaction would go is that whenever my gun is out flying around me, it would also gain the bonuses that I would gain because it's still technically my gun. Which means that the gun damage for that gun and my current gun should work together. But it did something a little different. Whether or not this is better, I'm not 100% sure, but I'll show you. So as you can see, I don't have any perks activated inside any of my skill trees. I wanted to do a base test when I was originally doing this, so I'm only going to test out the gun's original damage for the 10-gallon. So with my drone out, if I were to go inside and fight Troy, my drone is going to do roughly like, what is it? Show me, 400 damage, 830. And if I were to give myself the Violent Momentum perk, which increases my gun damage based on how fast I'm moving, and then bring out my 10-gallon, he ends up doing about 850 damage on a normal bullet hit. But if I were to run and throw out my 10-gallon, now my movement speed was increased past my base walk movement speed. So, theoretically, if I were to go into here and fight Troy now, then I should be doing over 850 damage or so. And now my drone is now doing 1500 damage opposed to my 850. But the thing about that is that as long as the drone's out, I don't have to be moving for it to get that bonus damage. So if I just stand still, he's still doing 1500 damage. I don't need to move. And that's what got me thinking on how I could make this gun even better, which made me come up with this build. We're focusing very heavily on kill skills. So we have Violent Speed to increase our movement speed, Violent Momentum to give us bonus damage based on our total movement speed, Salvation to give us lifesteal, Violent Violence to give us increased fire rate, Good Misfortune to give us increased action skill duration, Donnybrook to give us increased gun damage and health regeneration, Pocket full of grenades to regenerate some grenades, and Synchronicity to give us increased gun damage whenever we have an action skill out. We also have our drone being able to spawn grenades, and our Digiclone to be able to spawn grenades, so that we can have them both be able to throw out cloning hunter secret grenades to have more things come out to be even more of a Pokemon master. Like I said before, this is meant to be Pokemon things. We're doing Pokemon things this whole time. Doesn't matter if there's something better. Yes, there are 1,000 different grenades I could have done, all of them being probably better than this grenade. This is probably the worst grenade in the game, but we doing Pokemon stuff, so we stick into it. So like I said, cloning hunter seekers so we can have out even more things on the field. And Boom Enhance to give our Digiclone more damage, because let's face it, he's a Pokemon too. We're gonna have all of them do loads of damage. Which is why we needed Pocket Full of Grenades to regenerate grenades, so that every time we bring him out, we get those grenades back after we kill somebody. And just so that we have some kind of life insurance, we have Old U, which allows us to get up automatically if we fall down and our Digiclone is out. For our first action skill, we're gonna bring out our Sentinel. We're going to give this Sentinel drone the Bad Dose enhancement, which allows us to weaken enemies, which increases our movement speed and fire rate. And Boomsday, because I want him to do more damage. You can opt to go for Static Field, but with how we're going to set up our Digiclone, I don't think we really need it too much, so that's up to you. For our Digiclone, we're going to focus on that augment, that one, so that whenever our clone takes damage, we gain some of that damage as a shield. Because every time we use an action skill, we're going to be breaking our shield, which is what's going to cause us to need that regen. And for our last augment, we're going to do Which One's Real. Mainly so that whenever we throw out our clone or we switch places with our clone, every enemy will focus on him rather than me or the 10-gallon. Because even though the 10-gallon is a little drone that's flying around me, it can be targeted and destroyed by enemies. And to finish off the build, we're going to do Seeing Red as our last point in our perk trees. This allows us to activate all of our kill skills whenever we throw out either our Digiclone or our Sentinel. And since most of our kill skills can stack twice, we're going to get the double effect from almost all of them. So we're talking about how before the 10 gallons damage when in drone form is based on its current damage when you throw it and not increased by any other bonuses when it's already been thrown in flying. Which means that if you're prepping to go into a boss fight with this thing, all you gotta do is throw out your Digiclone, throw out your Sentinel, switch places with your Digiclone, run around, shoot once to get the reload, and reload as you're running. And with all of that done, we had all of our kill skills activated while we threw out our little 10 gallon. And before we were doing around what, I think it was 3,200 damage or something like that. But now instead, if we were to go and fight Troy, our 10 gallons damage is now going to be closer to around 5,000 damage. Which doesn't seem like much, but you have to remember it's on top of my damage that I'm also shooting at him. And if I were to throw out my Sentinel, or if I were to throw out my clone, now it's focusing my clone and my Sentinel over me or my drone, and we're all fighting him all at the same time. Switch around a couple times so that we can switch the aggro back over to our clone, get the increased damage for ourselves and our clones, and we got some pretty good stuff going on. Mind you, this is Mayhem 4, and I'm using a cryo weapon against somebody who has just regular health, which means my damage isn't as good as it could be. So if you were to fight somebody that actually had armor, then this would be even better. Like I said before, the 10 gallons damage is based off of what your damage is when you throw it, so now that it's been destroyed, it's only doing about 1,300 damage. And that won't go up until that one is destroyed and I can throw out a new one. So if I want to get those bonuses back, I have to wait until that 10 gallon is gone, which is kind of annoying. But if you were to go into an area that had a lot of enemies and you prep this preemptively, you could go in here while all of them are shooting at all of your other things, not even worrying about you and your low health or your shield that's broken. So you can just run around and just murk everything if you absolutely need to. So even now, while we're fighting a badass right here, I'm not using the strongest gun in the world, but I'm still doing some pretty decent damage to him, even after my Digiclone's gone, and I'm by myself. I gotta run. Uh-oh. Now, would I consider this to be a top-tier build that you have to run on Zane now? Obviously not. It has cool interactions, and it's a very unique build compared to the other things that we normally go on him. But the 10 gallon has a lot of cool interactions that I wouldn't have originally thought of. And in case anyone was wondering, yes, the Salvation perk does work on the 10 gallon while it's in flight around you, and on your 10 gallon while you're shooting enemies. Yes, the Violent Violence perk does work on the 10 gallon as well when it's flying around you, but it keeps the effect for a lot longer. Indefinitely, I think. And no, the Playing Dirty skill does not work with the 10 gallon while it's flying around you, because this applies to only Zane and his 5 next shots, not any of your guns and their 5 next shots. And that's it. That's my new Pokemon Master Zane build that honestly isn't that bad. There are a lot of other things you could go instead of focusing on having 1,000 different things flying around you. Yes, you could go a better shield. Yes, you can go different perks. But I just thought it was really cool that the 10 gallon had such a weird and unique interaction with Zane, and I wanted to capitalize that to the fullest. If you liked the build or found out something new about the 10 gallon, give this video a like to let me know. Leave a comment down below if there's anything you would have changed originally. Personally, I would probably change out the grenade because the grenade's absolute garbage. And I'd go for something different, like maybe the It's Piss grenade to increase all of your little flying drones damage by 20%, or going for just a Hex because the Hex is overpowered. Also, let me know if you want to see anything specific in a future video, because I would love any ideas. I will test out anything. I do not mind. And subscribe if you want to be here to see that video, or to see any other videos like it. And that's it. Bye!